Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant sister-in-law her husband was cheating even though my wife begged me not to? Something weird is happening in my life right now, and I am genuinely questioning if I completely ruined everything or if I just did what any decent human being would do. I have been married to my wife for 3 years. I am 27, and she is 26. My sister-in-law is 30, and her absolute piece of trash husband, my brother-in-law, is 31. To give you some context on the family dynamic, I have always had a really close relationship with my sister-in-law. We aren't just in-laws, we are genuinely good friends. We talk often, we share advice, and I really value her presence in my life. I also had a decent connection with my brother-in-law before all of this happened. We weren't incredibly close or anything, but we often talked, got along well at family gatherings, and had no real issues with one another. My wife and her sister, however, have a very complicated relationship. They didn't get along as much as you would expect from siblings. It wasn't just normal sibling rivalry or growing pains, it was a pattern of constant fights, deep-seated resentment, and bitter arguments that seemed to stretch back to their childhood. Because of this, my wife usually kept her distance from her sister, whereas I maintained my independent friendship with her. Everything changed 3 weeks ago. I was out having dinner at a restaurant with some of my friends, just trying to unwind. While we were sitting there, I looked across the room and saw my brother-in-law sitting at a table with another woman. At first, they were just eating, and I didn't think much of it. I figured it could be a coworker, a client, or an old friend. I actually wanted to get up from my table and go over to greet him, but I got distracted and kept talking to my friends instead. I figured I would catch him on his way out. But then, after a while, I looked back over at their table. What I saw completely froze me. He leaned in and gave a light, lingering kiss to this woman. It was undeniably romantic, not a friendly peck. I was so incredibly shocked. My stomach dropped, and I just sat there staring, trying to process the fact that my sister-in-law was at home, completely oblivious, while her husband was on a date right in front of me. I decided not to confront him right there in the restaurant and make a massive public scene in front of my friends. Instead, I finished dinner as quickly as I could, said my goodbyes, and went straight home. The moment I walked through the door, I told my wife everything. I didn't hold back any details. I told her exactly what I saw, and I told her that her sister was actively getting cheated on. I insisted that we needed to tell her sister immediately so she could know what kind of man she was dealing with. To my absolute bewilderment, my wife did not react the way I expected. Instead of being furious on behalf of her sister, my wife said we should talk to my brother-in-law directly instead of telling her sister. She argued that we should not break their marriage because her sister is currently pregnant. I looked at her like, what the hell? So what if she is pregnant? If anything, that makes it a million times worse. Her husband is a liar and a cheat, and she deserves to know who she is raising a child with. I tried to convince my wife multiple times over the next few days that we absolutely had to tell her sister the truth. I told her that I knew they didn't get along historically, but she was still her biological sister, and letting her live a lie while pregnant wasn't right. But my wife completely shut down the conversation and asked me to stay out of it entirely. I tried my absolute best to convince my wife to change her mind. I brought it up repeatedly, explaining the moral weight of keeping a secret like this, but she either completely ignored me or kept repeating the same line, that we shouldn't be the ones to break up their marriage. I eventually reached my breaking point. I had completely enough of her avoidance and her coldness regarding her own sister's life. Yesterday, I sat my wife down and told her straight up that I was coming clean to my sister-in-law. I told her that her sister and I have a great bond, that she has been a true friend to me, and that I simply could not and would not betray her by keeping her in the dark. My wife got incredibly angry and told me that if I went behind her back and told her the truth, she would completely stop talking to me. I looked right at her and replied that I won't talk to her either if she didn't want to do what was fundamentally right. Today, I took matters into my own hands and told my sister-in-law the truth. I drove over to her place when I knew he wouldn't be there, sat her down, and told her everything I saw at the restaurant 3 weeks ago. It was incredibly painful. She looked at me, completely stunned, and at first, she was very doubtful. She couldn't accept it, got incredibly defensive, and angrily asked me to leave her house. I didn't argue with her, I just told her I was sorry, that I only wanted her to know the truth, and then I left. After a few hours passed, my phone rang. It was my sister-in-law. She was sobbing uncontrollably on the other end of the line. Through her tears, she said that what I had told her was the absolute truth. She must have confronted him or found evidence, because she apologized to me, saying she shouldn't have doubted me and kicked me out of her house. Then, she told me she was packing her things and leaving him. Hearing her cry like that broke my heart. I asked her where she would go, and if she had enough money to support herself right now, especially in her condition. She told me that she had some savings, but not that much to handle an immediate emergency relocation. Hearing that, I immediately went onto my banking app and wired her a bit of money to help her get on her feet. I told her that she should call me anytime if she needs absolutely any help, whether it's a place to stay or more support. She thanked me sincerely and said she would only use the money I sent if it was absolutely necessary, otherwise she would return it to me. Not long after that conversation, the storm hit my own house. My brother-in-law apparently called my wife to tell her that his wife had just walked out on him, and well, my wife completely lost it. She turned all of her anger onto me. She screamed and lashed onto me, saying that I had completely ruined her family and that I had ruined her sister's entire life by opening my mouth. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at her and said, "I thought the moment we got married, your family became my family, and my family became yours? Why are you acting like I'm an outsider interfering in something that doesn't concern me?" I then asked her the question that had been burning in my mind for weeks. "Anyway, why the hell are you defending that piece of trash so much? What about your own sister?" She didn't give me an answer to that. She just shut down completely. Since that argument, she is not talking to me either. The silence in our apartment is heavy and suffocating. I have tried to talk to her multiple times over the last 24 hours, trying to calmly convince her that telling the truth was the right thing to do, and that protecting a cheater at the expense of a pregnant woman is morally indefensible. But she completely refuses to acknowledge my existence or speak a word to me. Eventually, out of sheer exhaustion and frustration with her stonewalling, I snapped. I told her, "Fine, stay angry. And if you want to divorce me over this, then go ahead." I am sitting here now in the quiet house, realizing that I think I have completely nuked my own marriage. I don't know if what I did was truly right, or if I should have just listened to my wife and stayed out of family business that wasn't technically mine. Am I the a-hole? Update 1. It's been a few days since I told my wife's sister that her husband is a cheat. Just to clarify to all the weirdos, no, I am not in love with my SIL. I don't have any inappropriate relationship or feelings for her. I respect her, and she's family. In any case, yesterday I asked my wife why she is pissed and why she wanted me to not reveal the truth to her sister. I told her, "I know you guys hate each other, but you guys are siblings." My wife said it's not our place to interfere. I asked, "Are you okay with your sister being cheated on?" She said she isn't, but it will and has ruined their marriage because of my stupidity. She said she's pregnant and the child needs his father, and so does the wife. I was so shocked when she said this. Like, WTF? I asked her, "If I were to cheat on you, would you forgive me?" She said yes. I also asked her if she ever cheats on me, would she hide it from me? She also said yes to that. I was so shocked. I asked her if she knows what she's saying. She said yes, and she's confident. Just because you had sex with someone else doesn't mean everyone else has to suffer and break the family. I had no words to say. I told her that I also sent my SIL money. She started screaming at me and said I shouldn't have helped her despite knowing she doesn't like her sister. I said if that's what she thinks, then it's better if we just divorce. She got angry and screamed, "Fine," and started packing her bag. I tried my best to stop her from leaving. I told her that I love her and I just did what I felt was right. Nobody has to suffer betrayal like this. She said it wasn't the right time. I asked her, "So when should we tell her the truth? After she gives birth? Because it will worsen her PPD? Or years after she gives birth? She will just blame us." She said we should have just kept quiet and left it alone. I tried so hard to stop her, but she didn't listen to me and left. I tried to contact her parents and her friends, but they don't know where she is and instead started interrogating me and saying I am her husband and I should have taken care of her and I should know where she is. I even visited my BIL to confirm my suspicions, but I didn't see her car or her belongings anywhere. I hate that I am being blamed for just revealing the truth and my wife leaving me right away without a second thought. I was so damn pissed, so today I called my SIL and told her that she can stay at my place because I am going to my parents' house and my wife left and nobody knows where she is. She told me she will try talking to her parents, but after a while she called me and said that their parents don't know where she is. I told her to think about herself and come over and stay here instead of blowing up her money. Now I am at my parents' house and my SIL is in our home. Maybe I was being petty, but I hate that my wife gave up on me and left without a second thought. I don't know whether she's cheating or cheated or if she would truly cheat on me and her own blood sister with a family relative over feuds. One thing is for sure though, I cannot trust my wife anymore. She hurt me. Update 2. Many people asked me for an update, and I also do need some outsider's perspective over my situation, so here it goes. But before that, I just want to clarify something and ask the people who kept calling me names for telling my SIL the truth, why do you guys keep telling me to mind my own business? She's family, and if families don't look out for each other and help, then who else will? Strangers? And it's not just some harmless or small lie from my BIL, it's life-changing. My SIL isn't just my SIL, she's my friend. If I didn't tell her the truth now, then my POSBIL would have just kept cheating, and I would lose a friend if I delayed. Anyway, coming back to the update, my SIL only stayed at my place for 2 days. After that, she called me and said she can't trouble me anymore and she's going to live in a hotel. I tried to convince her to not blow up her money unnecessarily, but she didn't listen and left anyway. And yes, I am divorcing my wife. After a week of NC, she called me and said she wants to reconcile. She said she was angry that I didn't listen to her and went behind her back. She said she didn't want to break her sister's family, so she wanted to hide it and convince my BIL to not cheat, but I fucked it all up and she's coming back. I just asked her to come back because I wanted to talk to her, and it's not something you discuss over calls. Once my wife arrived and started to explain herself, I told her I am filing for divorce. She was pretty shocked. She said we can make it work. I told her we can't. I don't trust you after everything you said, and you just left me with no contact and then suddenly show up while I was worried all day about where my wife is and whether she is safe. I can't make it work. She tried convincing me to not divorce, but I had already made my intentions clear. I told her that her sister stayed at our place for 2 days, and she got angry and said, "Fine, let's divorce," and left. I told my SIL that I am getting a divorce. She wasn't happy about it, but she didn't try to convince me into it or out of it. I told her that she can stay with me instead of living in a hotel. She said it's inappropriate. I just said either you blow up your money and struggle, or you can accept my help. So my SIL and I have been living together for the past couple of days, and we discussed our spouses and their behavior. We both got pretty angry about all of this. My SIL got even more angry than I was, and she ended up calling my wife and calling her names. She told me she's hellbent on ruining my BIL. She is divorcing him and will go nuclear on him and ask for as much money as possible in alimony and child support. She wants to drain him. My wife and I didn't talk to each other after she left, and we both know that we are divorcing. My SIL, though angry, calmed down because it's unhealthy for her and her baby, and she started focusing on her career and reading stories about single moms. She's preparing herself. So yeah, that's all. And weirdos, stay away. Neither my SIL nor I have any feelings for each other. I am just helping her, and she wasn't feeling good about it, that's why she was hesitating so much. Call me moral police if you want, but I know I did the right thing, not just for my SIL but for me as well. I now know what kind of woman my wife is.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.